I want to make this video because I want to ask my future self if this was the right decision, because right now it feels very hard and uncertain and unsafe.
Let's take it from the top. Like everyone else at the beginning of the decade, I was unsuspecting of the collective trauma the world would soon face. All I knew was that I was ready for a fresh start in a new place. Thus, I bid a false farewell to my native state. I was an eager photojournalism student, headed to study abroad in Bangkok, Thailand. The city's colors struck me first. Everything was vibrant and ever-changing. I found the people incredibly laid back and accommodating. I worked quickly to make my 8th-story apartment feel like home, understanding, or should I say, believing, that I was laying the foundation for an 8-month residence in a foreign place. Though our countries share flag colors, theirs were flown much more often. The country is a constitutional monarchy. This system was a compromise between the royalty, which once had absolute ruling power, and military officials who, after staging a revolutionary coup in the 30s, demanded a constitution. Nowadays, though, the military has aligned itself with the monarchy. Portraits of Thai royalty, specifically the king and previous kings, are to be seen absolutely everywhere. The official punishment for speaking against the monarchy is up to 15 years in prison, but much more severe punishments have been observed. To me, the king's photos served as daily reminders of the country's extreme economic disparity and power balancing act. Bangkok was especially choked by smog that January. The PM 2.5 particles turned the sky gray and the sun orange. In an effort to filter the air and protect the lungs, sporting surgical masks in public was normalized for me long before COVID-19 took hold of them as a symbol. In the city, rural, and island settings, motorcycles were the most practical form of local transportation. Motor taxis were plentiful, more fun, and cheaper than cabs. I planned to learn before leaving. But until then, the train stations were my favorite place to people watch. Once I sat across from 3 monks who were smoking cigarettes and drinking bubble tea. I was really intrigued by this due to traditional Buddhism's emphasis on abandoning worldly pleasures. This isn't the only example of Thai-style Theravada Buddhism straying from tradition. Almost every home and building in Thailand is accompanied by a spirit house, where it's believed the spirit of the land resides. Every day, residents leave offerings of food and drinks out for the spirit or other deities. In traditional Buddhism, you need to wait an entire lifetime to change your fate. To do good in this life means to have a better next. However, in times of trouble, many Thai people increase their daily offerings to the spirits in hopes that an accelerated karmic energy will bring good fortune. In addition, amulets circled the necks of many Thai people. They're believed to carry powers of protection to the wearer. I handpicked and bartered for many of these lucky charms myself, intending to gift them to friends as souvenirs back in the US, but now, in need of the protection myself, I haven't been able to part with them. My most intimate experience with Buddhism happened at an all-female monastery, which is also highly unusual in traditional Buddhism. The temple's garden was decorated with larger-than-life animals and statues. After walking through the body of the dragon that wrapped the pink tower to get to the top, I met a female monk who didn't speak a word throughout our entire interaction, but took me by the hand to another part of the temple. She showed me the proper way to pray before Buddha. We kneeled together before a tower of 1,000 gold Buddha figures and bowed 3 times. She let me take photo after photo until I'd finished the roll of film. And that was the first time I'd actually succeeded at meditating. During my first few weeks in Thailand, I was waking up and going to sleep smiling. I was learning constantly, both in and out of the classroom. Out and about, new friends and I dined, drank, shopped, danced, relaxed, and traveled together. Although I adored the city's energy, some of my favorite moments came when I was able to get out of it. February's full moon marked my favorite trip of the experience and a turning point for me. Island hopping through the south, I kayaked, snorkeled, and learned to scuba dive. Feeling on top of the world, I also attempted to drive a motorbike. We can just say it didn't go well for me or 3 of my teeth. From then on, my life in Bangkok began revolving around trips to the dentist. I was constantly in and out of the hospital for consultations, crowns, checkups. It put a damper on what I didn't know was going to be my last month in Thailand. I slipped into a funk, and attending an entire day of school became a rarity. But then on February 21st, something happened in Thai politics.
The Future Forward Party has been one of the most promising progressive parties here in the country. Won 80 seats in parliament under just 1 year. 6 million people voted for them. If their leader, Thanathorn Juangroongruangkit, were to continue calling for a democratic Thailand, it was not going to be good for the people in power.
An investigation into financial fraud was opened on the party's leader by the Constitutional Court, and the entire party was dissolved.
It is quite well known that the members of the Constitutional Court were appointed by the militaries.
I was coming from San Francisco State University, where protesting, organizing, and activism is ingrained in the campus culture. But this was the first student-organized act of resistance that Mahidol University had ever seen, and the only protest in Thailand since 1976, which didn't end well for the students, nor the ideals of democracy.
Even though I'm optimistic about what might happen next, I have to say that there is a possibility that we might end up repeating the history once again.
2 weeks after my crash, these students' cause revived my motivation. I remembered why I was in Thailand in the first place. Shedding light on human rights issues and international struggles for democracy is my journalistic intention, despite the risk of doing so in this country. Then in March, COVID-19 became the subject of every conversation. The coronavirus had been a part of my experience in Asia since the beginning. Upon my arrival, I remember agonizing over photos of Wuhan's speed construction of hospitals. But things began to change for me when the crisis was labeled a global pandemic on March 15th. World leaders began announcing border closures, which sent many of my friends, other foreigners abroad in a country to which we weren't citizens, into a panic. I don't think we were actively worried about getting sick, but many of us worried about getting stuck. With my heart set on staying until August, I said a never-ending stream of goodbyes to the people who, in just a few short months, become some of my closest friends and neighbors. I saw the local community shrink to its skin and bones. I believed I'd stick it out. I believed I'd people watch from my balcony and order takeout curry until the world was on the mend. I wasn't ready to leave what I had just begun to understand and participate in. But the reality was that soon, no one would be participating in society anymore. Though the Thai government never imposed an official lockdown, I began to only feel safe in the confines of my concrete walls. I had begun to fear the virus itself. I'd stocked my apartment with confidence in my ability to live alone, but the isolation, constant stream of bad, unbelievable news took its toll, and I began losing my grip. By then, the thought of the journey home was more terrifying than a bike crash, solo living for months, or writing an article that could land me in Thai prison. Flights were being canceled and borders closed by the minute. After 2 weeks of torturous debate, I booked a flight.
I want to make this video because I want to ask my future self if this was the right decision.
I felt that I was leaving behind an entire life, a potential life with so many new, beautiful friends, an apartment to myself, potential relationships, and important stories to tell.
I just want to know that good things came out of this decision. And that it will get easier and the world will heal. Because right now everything feels quite broken, including my teeth.
I cried sporadically from Thailand to Tokyo to Texas and back to California. Fear, relief, longing, and regret circled in my head, and they still do. I will forever be thankful that my worst fears were not realized in flight. Not only did I make it home, but I didn't bring the virus with me. Adjusting back to my childhood home after tasting independence, it's not without its rough patches. But I'm working to make my gratitude for my safety, family, and resources overshadow the disappointment over the lost experience, because I know that many have lost much more than that. Quarantine makes the passing days look identical, but still, some are better than others. I spend a lot of my time reminiscing on the 3 months that felt something like a dream. On the good days and bad, the state of confusion prevails. And again, I turn to my future self who might know. Did it get easier? Will the world heal? And what's next?